Okay. So, I just finished Ocarina of Time. Quest 1 is done. Gone. Majora's Mask is next, but this is just a solid game. This is just a solid game. I'd recommend this to anybody. It's I was surprised how much easier it was than I remembered. I honestly did think there were parts of this game that was gonna kick my butt. Not the case. The run went smoothly, extremely smoothly, and I wasn't using, like, the guide I was using, I wasn't using it for anything except just making sure I got all the collectibles. I wasn't using it to solve anything or for tips on how to approach things. I just, I don't know, everything, maybe just because I've played a Zelda game before. Like, once you've played a Zelda game before, things end up being pretty intuitive. They'll get, like, progressively more complex. Not, like, to an insane degree, but, like, you know, they're gonna shake up mechanics. There's gonna be things, that just play differently. This game is a perfect example of passively weaving a narrative along. Because what Zelda games, I mean, well, okay, not all of them, because some of them are actually pretty heavily narrative driven, and then some of them are very light. This one is one of the lighter ones. I don't know if it's the lightest. I think the lightest has to be Breath of the Wild, and we'll get to that. But this one, I think, strikes a balance between there's a lot of moments of leaving things only implied, of implying things, implying history, implying feelings, and I think that speaks to the game as a whole. The game really weaves this narrative of this tragic narrative, this tragic and somber narrative of things left unsaid. It seems like every single time we say goodbye to one of the other characters, it sort of left us with a state of, or in a state of, them expressing a regret almost, or them expressing feelings or mentioning feelings that are just, you know, that are unspoken, you know? A lot of it, oddly enough, a lot of it romantic. Even Naboru is like, dang, if I knew you were gonna grow up to be such a handsome young man, I would have played my cards a little better. Which, potentially problematic things loaded with there. We don't need to unpack all of that. We don't have time. But yeah, from Saria mentioning, basically cutting you off and being like, we don't need to talk about, like, we don't need to go there. She's like, it's like, I understand. I know. We don't have to say it. But we can't. We're from two different worlds. And that's just that. Her expressing that because you are from two different worlds, you are two different people, who just could never be together, learning from other characters that she liked us so much, learning from Mido. Mido is a prime example of things left unsaid and regrets, because you see him there at the end, and Saria and Link are both gone. He never gets to see Saria again. He'll never get to see Link again. that in that timeline, Link is gone from that timeline. It's a little, I will say it's a little, Link saved that future, but the question, I suppose, is still, I'm assuming he goes to Zelda there at the end, also probably to give warning, so that she can give warning as well, and then hope that everybody heeds it this time. Ruto in choosing us as a husband and then us disappearing, you know? Things left undone, things left unsaid. Impa being unable to continue protecting Zelda and having to leave it in our hands. Darunia not being able to protect, and see his people off to a better life. Naboru not being able to guide her people anymore. In fact, going so far as having been used to lead them astray. It's hard. It's rough. I mean, there's so much in the game that just seems to be about missing your opportunities, missing the opportunity to get that final word with somebody, you know, to make that change. But then also, not to say all hope is lost. I think it does reinforce the idea that just because today didn't go how you wanted it to doesn't mean that you can't get back up tomorrow and try to leave it better than it was before. And I mentioned that earlier. You gotta get up and try to leave the world a little bit better than it was before. In that future timeline, that was 7 years of basically an apocalypse, right? But then there at the end, we see everybody, all people from all over Hyrule coming together and celebrating. And I think Zelda's words were pretty poignant. She says, Hyrule will see peace for a time. It may be fleeting, but at least for now, people are together and they're joined, and that means something, you know? But it's so rough. Link has to say goodbye to all of his friends. All of these people he probably has so many different feelings, conflicting feelings for and towards. But then all of that culminates to Navi leaving. And I think that really drives that point one final time, which is ultimately that time changes everything. It's like Sheik's line before. Nothing. Yeah, before she gives you the song for the Shadow Temple, she says nothing can stop the flow of time. Nothing escapes the flow of time. Except the absence of it. You know? Except the dark. The endless dark. That's the only thing that escapes the flow of time. Is when there is no more time. So nothing changes it. The places, people, it all floats down the river, you know? And that's really what the entire game's about. It's just about time's effect on things. I mean, you literally, and what's crazy is that they even marry that with the gameplay, because you're literally bouncing back and forth at certain points. You do something, have to go do something in the past in order to progress in the future, you know? Which in a weird way, you know, sometimes there are moments where Link can go back and make a choice in order to progress in the future, in order to change the future. But ultimately, what he can't stop is that he is, throughout all of that, the thing he can't stop is growing older. He really does grow up. By the time you reach the end of the game, I feel like it's implied that Link is mentally an adult, because everything he's been through, that would age you up rather quickly. I feel like the role he had to take on would have really pushed him forward a handful of years mentally, for sure. The kinds of things he had to grasp, the concepts, the sort of the struggle, you know, that ages you for sure. But you know, then it's like, it's so tragic, because what is he left with, you know? No friends, really? No friends, no home, really? No people, you know? He's a Hylian, but he was raised by a forest full of fairy people. But he's not one of them. He's gonna grow old. And, not to mention, that one Kokiri in the woods, kind of got some shivers thinking about it, because I'm remembering her dialogue. But she laughs when she sees you older in the Lost Woods and says, I wonder what you'll become. So I wonder what's gonna happen to you for spending your time in here. Link is on borrowed time no matter what he does, because he was a Hylian living in the Lost Woods, where Hylians become Stelphos. So presumably that is his ultimate fate, and we'll see what becomes of that. But you know, it's kind of tragic. All of his friends will basically outlive him. But then I think what's also crazy about all this is, like, he goes on this huge adventure, risks everything, goes through so much hardship, loses everything and everyone, and I think the ultimate thing that hurts in the end, that leaves you with that bittersweet feeling, is that nobody's gonna know. Nobody knows that he did any of that, that he did any of this. Not even Zelda's going to know. The only person he could have shared his experience with, everything he's gone through with, was Navi, because she was there for all of it. But then she's gone. Link is alone. He's the only person who knows everything that he went through. He could tell people, you know. In Major Link's Ocarina of Time series, Link lashes out and like sort of just starts just yelling when talking to Saria again, being like, nobody knows what I've gone through. I can't talk to anybody about anything. No, I mean, like, nobody understands what I've been through, because I was the only one there. I was the only one there, and nobody knows that. I've lived my entire life holding all this stuff, holding all these things I've been through, holding all this trauma, basically, and I have nobody to share it with. Everybody leaves. Everybody's gone. I don't know if in the current timeline, I don't know if when Link gets sent back, I don't know if Darunia, Ruto, Impa, Naboru, or Saria, I don't know if they all return back to their normal, back to where they were, back to a normal state. I don't know if becoming sages, I feel like because the Sacred Realm and everything and all that stuff seems to be separate from any timeline, I don't know if being a sage sort of, I'm not sure if it permanently locks you away, if it removes you from all timelines, and if you just exist outside of everything now, outside of all of existence now. If that is the case, that would be absolutely tragic. I want to know, actually. One sec. I see. Okay, so it seems to be general consensus that, yeah, it is for sure a split timeline. That seems to be the general consensus. One timeline where, yeah, I mean, in the future timeline, I'll just say the future and the past timeline. In the future timeline, Link is removed. There is no Link in that timeline. That Zelda, that Saria, that Darunia, that Ruto, that Naboru, and that Impa, all of them exist in that future timeline where Link is no longer present. That goes to that timeline is actually relevant. I mean, they all become relevant to one another in very interesting ways. That one leads to Wind Waker, and we'll see how that world becomes Wind Waker's world when we get there. The past timeline, the one Link goes back to, that goes into Majora's Mask, and then eventually goes into Twilight Princess. I was right about, yeah, that Zelda and Link somehow, Link does seem to warn them, and they thwart Ganondorf before he even begins his plan. So that is how that plays out. In the future timeline, all of the sages, presumably, they for sure don't come back. They obviously aren't, because King Zora and Mido are both sitting there not enjoying the festivities because they have lost the people most important to them. And that's super sad. Mido, I feel like doubly so, because Mido even says, hey, if you see Link, can you tell him I'm sorry? Gosh, and it's just so unfair. And what's tragic is that it's like, is Link going back to the past? Is that the best? Is him returning as a kid? Is that the best thing for him? Because he's a full-grown man and a kid now, in a child's body now. He can't relate to people his own age. He can't relate to the people back home. He can't relate to the Hylians. He can't relate to anybody who would become his friend. He can't relate to Ruto or Saria or Zelda, you know. Again, he gets sent back to a timeline where he is cursed to live extra years, basically. He is cursed to live as an adult in a child's body. And also he is cursed to live an extremely lonely life, basically. Because nobody will know what he did for that other timeline, for the future timeline. It's like, I don't know, it's like his childhood was basically taken away from him, you know? And it was a thankless job. His childhood was taken from him, and he received basically very, very little in return, you know? He doesn't get... Zelda says you can get that time back. You can get that time back, but he gets back, he doesn't even have Navi there with him. What is he getting back, you know? It's what I thought about this a long time ago, that Ocarina of Time Link is he's sort of cursed, you know? It's a very cursed life that he leads. It's a tragic life, and I think that's why the game ends, and it's bittersweet. You put the sword in, Navi leaves, and he just walks away. A look of, I would say, fulfillment, for sure, at a job done, but also he walks away like, what next? And so then we see him standing before Zelda, and you know, the look on her face, the look on his, and you're like, man, she doesn't... It's sort of one of those like, hey boy, do I got a story for you. And let's not even forget about Zelda in everything. She gets as much of a raw end of the deal as Link does, almost. I mean, like, they're definitely competing with one another. All the sages do as well, but with Zelda, at the end, you can see how much the weight of her actions have like affected her in the choices she has made. It's interesting because I think I mentioned that everything, once you get to the future, a lot of it is about regrets and things unsaid and all that kind of stuff. But mainly, you know, in a more general sense, it's about regrets in the way time has changed things. And I think when you look at Zelda and the way she's talking at the very end, saying, it's not right that this happened to you. You deserve to have that time back. You deserve to be back to where you are. It's like, when peace has come over Hyrule, it will be time to say goodbye. I think she definitely means well. I don't think she's considering what place Link is at. I think in her mind, she wants so badly to just reset the decision she made, because the decision she made in getting Link involved in everything, of course Link showed up and he has a mind of his own and he made his own decisions, but upon meeting her, this was her plan and it went wrong. Now, it didn't work out for anybody, really, not even Ganondorf, not entirely. But I think it's pretty telling that she just wishes she could reset. She just wishes she could go back. After waiting for him for 7 years and then finally seeing them, but having to remain in hiding and basically having to keep tell him to move forward, to keep going, to keep doing like increasingly more dangerous things. Because there really is no choice now. There's no choice anymore in the matter. He he is involved. He has to be doing this. He's the only one who can. But then just the way she talks there at the end about how heavy her heart is. But like I thought we could, you and me, could open the sacred realm. I was wrong. I was wrong for trying to do this. And now we all kind of paid the price. Now, would things have gone any differently otherwise? No, I mean, Ganondorf was on his way to getting exactly what he wanted. We just hurried things along, is all. But, I don't know, watching her sort of beat herself up so much. And wanting so badly to be able to piece it back together for Link. It's sad. It hurts, and I mean, she's left without her guardian in Impa. She's left without her friend in Link. She's left without a kingdom. Really. She's left without most of her people. And she's the one who has to piece all that back together. It's hard. I feel like throughout the games there is, on Zelda, and we'll see this more and more, but sort of the responsibility, the weight of everything seems to land on her time and time again. You know, people wonder why it's like, oh, wait, Link's, the main character's name isn't Zelda, but it's the Legend of Zelda. It's because everything is on her shoulders all the time and time again. Even when like the story and the things and the events unfolding aren't even centering around her, she gets wrapped up in it, regardless of what she does. And I think maybe that has to do with, that's the cost of the of the wisdom she holds, is that she will always be the target. She's always that third piece. She's always the third piece of the puzzle. There can't be, things can't be done without her. It's a rough deal. And another thought too that I didn't even, I don't know, I didn't even consider it. I never even considered it. During, we didn't talk about it much because you don't really see him talk to him too much, is Ganondorf himself. You don't get a lot on him. You don't get a lot from him. He's on screen very sparingly. I think all that's fine though. I don't think he's bad in the game. I think he's exactly what he should be, which is just that rival force, that rival entity that's off in the distance waiting for you. Who's always... I think one thing that's on display is he's not a dumb person. He's very smart. He's thought this out, and really he just lets you play into his hand time and time again. The first time when Zelda opens the door to the Sacred Realm, you collect everything he needed for him. So that's one thing, and then it happens again when Zelda reveals herself to become the Seventh Sage. Once again, that plays right into his hand, and she reveals herself, and hence reveals the last Triforce. I love that moment when you walk into the room and the Triforce symbols appear on each one of your hands. And again, his true motives are revealed, which is, I want the Triforce. And with the Triforce, then I will become unstoppable. I only have the one piece. But something that was brought up, I rewatched the teaser Major Link put. Now, of course, I've been mentioning the Major Link his videos for a while, his animations. They're not like official canon technically. They're not like the gospel on Zelda or anything like that. But I think what he does is what a lot of people do, and what I've definitely done for a long time, which is really put he really lines up everything that happens from one game to another, and he gives and he sheds a little more context. He gives a little more context for everything that's happening, because Zelda games, for the most part, even the most story-driven ones, are very loose with how they tell stories. Very loose with their story beats. There's a lot of gameplay with like quick bursts of a cutscene or two, some dialogue or two, but when you really pay attention to the dialogue, when you really pay attention to what's happening, what you're literally doing, it's very interesting what's being said and how things unfold, and sort of the cyclical nature of every single Zelda game as this like repetition, this pattern, this thing that keeps happening, these events that keep happening over and over again, each time the same but different. I think it's very interesting. To sort of really think about, really break down all the events and the characters and what they say. And I think he does it very well. I watched his teaser for the his little series called The Hero's Purpose. Episode 5 is coming out soonish, I think. He released a teaser, and in the teaser it highlighted, it focused on the parallels between Link and Ganondorf, of two people chosen by destiny, destined for a purpose, regardless of what they wanted. And of course, I've mentioned like Link sort of being forced into a role that he never asked for, and how he pays the price of that. He sees his job through to the end and pays the price for it. I talked about Zelda, her regrets, and what happens to her, and the price she pays for the responsibility that's placed onto her shoulders, regardless of what she wanted. She gets the premonitions and stuff like that, and has to, as a kid, has to try to interpret them, figure out what needs to be done, makes a choice, ends up going wrong. But let's talk about Ganondorf. The man born to a tribe of all women, where they only receive one male every 100 years. He's literally, his very birth is his very birth itself is destined. It was predetermined that he would exist in the world. And then what happened? Well, the Twin Rover sisters, take him after his birth mother passes, and take him in. And they were clearly very like bitter, jaded, and hateful people who took him and raised him to aim at the Hyrule, the land of Hyrule, and everybody else in it. So from his birth, from his very inception, before like his very inception itself was destined. It was predetermined. And his course, what choice did he have? He was put onto this path by his people, the people who raised him. And sure, there are reasons why the Gerudo were outcast. Like, they were already outcasted and othered by the Hylians and everybody else in Hyrule. But regardless, they instead of choosing to push towards a better future, they chose to, this is kind of like the point of everything, this is the point of Zelda, right? They chose to repeat the cycle of hate and violence. They chose to propagate the cycle once more. A male was born with powers, born with strength that would be needed in order to get this job done, and thus Ganondorf was born, and he was pushed into this role. But the thing is, the whole idea of like predestined fate goes even beyond that. I think Major Link touches upon the fact that this cycle is set in stone. And what's interesting is that it's set in stone by events that happen thousands of years before this game, before Ocarina of Time. Those thousands of years, before that, it's Ocarina of Time. It's some of the early games, but it's specifically Skyward Sword, the events of Skyward Sword, and we'll get to that. It won't be for a while, but we will eventually get to see why everything is the way it is, and we'll get to see why this cycle repeats itself time and time again. Regardless, and why everybody is powerless to stop it. But also, I think what's interesting too is that even Ganondorf at the end of this also makes the active choice to repeat the cycle. He says, "Curse you." He says, "Curse you, sages. Curse you, Zelda. Curse you, Link. Like, when I escape here, I will destroy everything. I will not be stopped. This will never stop, and I will be back." And yeah, time and time again, he always comes back. He always comes back. And we will see that unfold. Because I'll get into it more when we boot up Majora's Mask, but it is implied, or it's off screen, but Link goes to Zelda at the end of Ocarina of Time, presumably to warn her of Ganondorf, and somehow, even though her and Impa couldn't do it themselves, they find a way to convince the King of Hyrule, this time, in the Child's Arc, in the Child's Path, that Ganondorf does not mean to swear loyalty to Hyrule. He means to stop. He means to stop. To destroy it. So they stop him, and what they do is they seal him, and we actually will get to see the sealing of Ganondorf. It won't be for a while, but that seal, him getting sealed away, we'll get to see how that plays out and what that leads into. But again, that won't be for a little while still. Because we're going to be finishing the Child era with Majora's Mask, and then we're going to be moving on to finish off the future era. Well, finish it off, sort of. The reason, I put this into better terms in my mind, the reason why I'm doing these legacies with certain games is because it's not about literally playing every single thing that is exactly 2D or that's exactly 3D. Because like in the Metroid Legacy, I played Other M, and that's not technically a 2D game, right? But it's about the vibe, the structure, the feel of the games, what is the, what are they trying to capture? What is being captured there, right? So like Other M, not only does it fit in the storyline that the 2D Metroid games unravel, but it also plays like them. It plays the game feel, the design philosophy is the same, right? The game feels like a 2D Metroid game. It carries on that spirit. Spiritually speaking, the 3D Zelda games are Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, at least to me, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and Breath of the Wild. Obviously, there are departures and tweaks here and there, but for the most part, they are... I mean, Breath of the Wild, I guess you could almost argue that it is entirely its own vibe, but I feel like it still fits the sort of design philosophy of the other 3D Zelda games. It just leans more into the open aspect of it. Whereas 2D Zelda games, like Link to the Past, the very first one, The Legend of Zelda, even Link's Adventure, those games all, in Oracle of Seasons and Link's Awakening, all those games have the same feel. They are spiritually connected in a way, in a pretty noticeable way. And the thing is, while games like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, while they do fit, well, narratively speaking, they do come after Wind Waker. They are part of that timeline. I feel like both narratively and gameplay-wise, they definitely feel a lot more in line with a 2D Zelda game. I feel like they have the same design philosophy as a 2D Zelda game rather than a 3D one. Not just this perspective, just in the way they play out, the way that the dungeons are designed, the way puzzles are designed, everything like that. I feel like, but then also, I mean, even narratively, and this might be just this might be me coping a little bit, just because I'm not the biggest fan of Phantom Hourglass, or Spirit Tracks. Just, I haven't played Spirit Tracks. Maybe it's really good. I played Phantom Hourglass once a long time ago. I enjoyed it, but it's not really something I would look super forward to playing again. If I do a 2D Zelda Legacy, which I might, because I haven't played a lot. I didn't grow up on 2D Zelda games. I haven't played most of them. I haven't played Minish Cap or the Oracle games. I just played Link's Awakening. I loved it too. I just played the Link's Awakening because of the remaster that came out on the Switch. But I would say that even narratively speaking, I do feel like the adult arc, the adult timeline that goes from Ocarina of Time, the adult timeline that goes from that to Wind Waker. I feel like Wind Waker wraps it up in a nice little bow, and then everything that comes after Wind Waker is like its own thing. It is just the future, right? Because of the events of Wind Waker do tie in to, they tie in directly. They spiritually, they are connected to them. And you could argue well, I mean, the typical Zelda stuff isn't in Majora's Mask. It's no, but that is a direct sequel that plays exactly the same, that feels the same, plays the same, has the same design philosophy as Ocarina of Time, and it also takes place not too long after. Now, Phantom Hourglass doesn't take place that long after Wind Waker, but I feel like narratively it does not tie in the same as Spirit Tracks and Spirit Tracks maybe a little more, because it is about the establishment of a new Hyrule. We'll get to why there would be a new Hyrule, but I feel like Phantom Hourglass does not narratively tie in thematically to everything that happens leading up to it. I feel like Phantom Hourglass is a clear start of something new. And also, I just feel like pacing wise, like going from Wind Waker to that, and having to play Phantom Hourglass in between like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. No, well, actually, I think Phantom Hourglass even maybe took place after Twilight Princess, right? Not took place after. I think it came out after. And I'm playing these in order that they came out because I think that's like the most interesting way to. I feel like that's the most interesting way to see how the story beats and how the themes and stuff evolve from one game to another by playing them as the way they were released. It's the same reason why, like, if I was to do a 3D Mario Legacy, I don't think I would include 3D Land or 3D World, because yes, they literally have 3D in the name, right? But the spirit of them, spiritually, they are in line with the 2D games, like New Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, and the very first one. That's the design philosophy evokes that very separated one level. Each level is separated from every other one. Sort of just like, oh, here are some small courses to run through really quick. Here's the A to B beginning to end, right? So like going from Super Mario going from Super Mario Galaxy to Super Mario Galaxy 2 to 3D Land and 3D World, that wouldn't feel right, you know? Gameplay-wise, thematically, spiritually, it just doesn't. That's not a transition. You go from Super Mario Galaxy 2 to Odyssey, obviously. That makes way more sense. And then after you're done with Super Mario Bros. Wii U, if you were doing a 2D Mario Legacy, then you would go to 3D Land and 3D World, because that all makes sense. They're very married, right? Now, granted, they added Bowser's. I would probably replay Bowser's Fury in between Galaxy 2 and Odyssey. Because that does fit. That does fit the way it works, you know. So I think that would be good. That would work out. Yeah. I think that would work. That would be a cool thing to throw in there as a quick little like one-off, probably like 1 or 2 episodes. Of course, this is like future talk, right? But yeah, I guess there's an argument to be made. I guess this is what I'm talking about. I just meant to also throw this in there really quick to just talk about Ganondorf, and the sort of whole design, destiny versus choice thing that Zelda games have, the cyclical nature of them. But I guess now I'm also just talking about how my approach to doing legacies is that I think I want to play games one after another that clearly are the next step forward in one way or another, or in multiple ways. And there's an argument to be made that, well, Galaxy 2 does like separate the levels even more, right? Because like Galaxy 1 has like you go to different galaxies, and you do like 1 to 3 levels in each galaxy, like 2 to 3 levels in each galaxy or so. It's not like Sunshine or 64 or Odyssey, where there's tons of things to collect in each level and like mini levels within each level. Galaxy is more structured, it's more rigid, you know. And then Galaxy 2 starts to lean into it even more, still having the courses idea, right? But I still feel like, but because Galaxy 2 is literally built off of the back of 1. Hey Nintendo, please port 2. Why did you port 2? You ported 1, but not 2 with it? 2's great. 2's probably, gameplay-wise, I'll be the one to say it. I think 2's probably better than 1 as far as gameplay goes. I feel like the game just flows better. I feel like it took the design, the level design philosophy of 1, and it just cranked it up like by 100% with how like one level flows to another, how often you're jumping to different ideas. And clearly that's what took them, that's what led them eventually to 3D Land and 3D World, but it still feels like a 3D Mario game. It still feels like a Galaxy or a Sunshine. I feel like it still has that design approach to it, you know? Maybe it's just because the levels seem a little bit more open. There's like more to them. Because in 3D World, it's very much like you got blocks, you got enemies, you got traps. Like a 2D Mario, like Super Mario World or something, you know? You got blocks to get coins, you got power-ups. But, you know, in Super Mario, in even Super Mario Galaxy World, you got like worlds, you got entire galaxies to screw around in. You know, that's the only 3D Mario game I never 100%. I'm gonna, at some point, that's gonna be a special thing. I'm gonna 100% every single game leading up to it. Finally gonna 100% that game. I have 1 bronze star sitting there on my freaking record. I never touched the game again after that. It hurt me. It hurt me bad. Yeah, so this is an important spot. This is the moment. Like multiple timelines were created and multiple Zelda, multiple possibilities for the fate of Hyrule and the people in it now exist. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds as we go from game to game. If I had to describe a tone for Ocarina of Time, I guess it would just be, I think bittersweet is a really good, which I think fits it. I was mentioning last episode that, you know, this game becomes such a nostalgic punch once you're older, you know, because I grew up with its imagery and having played it and which is. And even before I ever got to play it, just its imagery in my mind, stuck in my mind, of like those opening moments of the game. And I think it that experiencing that in and of itself sort of plays into the game's the narrative and its themes of the past influencing the future, of growing up, of being forced to grow up, of how the past never changes, but the present always does. And I think that sort of bittersweet note that it ends on, or that sits in the whole game, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet nostalgia, you know? It's this bittersweet feeling of friends you used to know, family you used to know, family you used to have, friends you used to have, and sort of, I feel like it's growing up and learning how to say goodbye to all of those things, you know? I think about all the moments, all the friends that I've had where it sort of just ends with, and then we don't talk anymore. For no reason, you know? My friend from college who just stopped talking to me. Unexplained, you know? didn't say anything, just sort of stopped messaging back. And I'll never know why. There's so many people that I've known. Well, you just stopped talking, and you know that's just that is the way it goes. As much as I always as I've been saying, you know, don't do things just because that's the way it's always been. One thing that I don't think you can stop is drifting apart from people, you know. Even people you would call your best friends. I've been lucky because I have been stubborn enough to hang on to the friends I have now desperately, and I don't feel like they're going anywhere. But you know, I have to be able to admit that ultimately they could. Not by anybody's fault, not by their fault, not by my fault, my own, no fault of my own, you know. But 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, who knows if we'll all still be getting on this call every day, playing games, talking, chatting, making jokes, you know? Who knows if that'll all be there? Who knows how many of us will live anywhere near each other? Who knows how many of us will still think of each other from time to time? I want the group of friends I have now to be the forever ones, you know? Goodbye to everybody else I've known throughout the years. These ones. I'm going to do all I can to keep these ones together. Because it's good. We're good for each other, you know? But nothing is guaranteed, you know? I think about the possibility of having to say goodbye to them. I think about often, having to say goodbye to my mom someday. I am the youngest out of all of my family members. So, my mom, my grandmother, my mom, my uncle, my aunt and cousin. Someday, I will be the last one. Because it's just us 6, 5. 6. Yeah. It's just the 6 of us. And I think about, you know, I get these quick flashes of considering that someday my mom, who I love with all my heart, one of my favorite people, who's always been there for me, done everything for me, everything she could for me, you know. Someday, I will have to say goodbye to her. And it sometimes it's just sad, and then sometimes it's like, it's surreal to think about that, you know, if that makes sense. Because it's like how could that be, you know? How could that person be gone? They can't be. They've always been there since day one, you know? They can't just be gone. But nothing escapes the flow of time. What did she say? Time is a river. It ebbs and flows, changes but always goes towards one place, which is the future. Nothing can stop it. But the one thing that does not change with the flow of time is memories of younger days. So sure, friends come and go. One day, you do have to say goodbye to everyone. But no one ever really leaves, you know? Not really. As long as you think of them, as long as you think of those people and those times you had, those memories, you're always there. You're here right now, and you're always there, too. You'll always be back then. I think people, you all exist. We all exist in every moment that we ever were, everywhere, all at once. We are here now. We were there then. Knowing that, thinking of it like that, you know, in a way, my mom is always going to be right down the hall. Or just a phone call away. Me and my friends will always be sitting on a call together, laughing at nothing in particular. And time can't take that away. Ultimately, maybe that's what Ocarina of Time is ultimately about. The fact that even if nobody else knows, you remember that it happened. You went on this adventure, and nothing, not even time, can change that. It happened. Be proud of it.